Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're taking a look at the history of The Who. Formed in 1964, The Who consisted of vocalist Roger Daltrey, guitarist Pete Townshend, bassist John Entwistle, and drummer Keith Moon. Though the band had loyal supporters early on, they needed something to stand out from other impressive local groups. In September '64, Pete Townshend famously broke his guitar on stage at London's Railway Tavern, giving the band the kind of publicity they needed. The Who became famous for destroying instruments in their live shows for years to come. By the time the band's first album, My Generation, was released in December 1965, The Who already had 2 singles on the charts. Their first hit was January 1965's I Can't Explain, and that was followed by My Generation in November. My generation, baby. The album itself went to number 5 on the UK charts. Their sophomore effort, 1966's A Quick One, strayed from the previous album's R&B leanings. It contained their first rock opera-inspired track, A Quick One While He's Away. Next up was the single Pictures of Lily and album number 3, 1967's The Who Sell Out. This concept album featured fake ads and public service announcements, and also contained the band's only single to reach the Billboard Top 10, I Can See for Miles. I know you deceived me, now here's a surprise. The Who's reputation for demolishing instruments on stage persisted in 1967 when Keith Moon's drum kit notoriously exploded on the television show The Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. The next year saw the release of one of The Who's most popular singles. Every day I get with you. 1969 was a busy year for The Who, as the band released their double album Tommy, the first official rock opera. This record told the story of a deaf, dumb, and blind boy who went on to lead a spiritual movement. A critical and commercial smash, the album featured the single Pinball Wizard. Ever since I was a young boy, I played the silver ball. From Soho down to Brighton, I must have played them all. In 1975, Tommy was turned into a film of the same name, and that film's score earned Townshend an Oscar nomination. Also in 1969, The Who played the Woodstock Music and Arts Festival, where Townshend famously struck a political activist with his guitar after he interrupted their set. By the next year, the band was ready with its first live compilation, Live at Leeds, which is often considered one of the best live rock records in history. Though The Who began a rock opera follow-up called Lifehouse in 1971, they abandoned the project in favor of their next release, Who's Next. This became their most critically and commercially acclaimed effort, generating the singles Won't Get Fooled Again, Baba O'Reilly, and Behind Blue Eyes. But my dreams, they aren't as empty. The Who eventually released their second rock opera in 1973. Quadrophenia was later adapted into a film in 1979. It was followed by the 1974 outtake compilation Odds and Sods, and the band's 7th effort, 1975's The Who by Numbers. The next year, The Who went down in the record books by playing the loudest concert in the world at London's The Valley Stadium. Though group members started pursuing solo projects in the mid-70s, The Who still made music together. 1978's Who Are You became their biggest selling album. However, just 3 weeks after its release on September 7, 1978, Keith Moon died from a prescription drug overdose. After a short break, The Who returned to the stage with Kenny Jones on drums and released the documentary The Kids Are All Right in 1979. However, tragedy struck the band again that year when dozens of fans were crushed trying to get inside the venue during their set at Cincinnati's Riverfront Coliseum. The band released 2 new albums at the beginning of the 1980s. Both Face Dances in 1981 and It's Hard in 1982 spawned charting singles, and their subsequent US tour became the highest grossing of that year. However, despite the continued success, Townshend, the primary songwriter, left the band in 1983 and concentrated on solo projects. Even after the breakup, fans were supplied with box sets, compilation albums, and documentaries. They even came back together to perform on a number of occasions following the departure of Townsend. In 2002, The Who performed for a benefit concert that would prove to be John Entwistle's last show. On June 27, 2002, Entwistle died of a cocaine-induced heart attack just one day before The Who kicked off its US tour. After a brief delay, the band went back on tour and continued playing shows during the latter half of the decade. 2006 saw the release of their first album of original material in 24 years, Endless Wire. Famous for rebellious and ambitious rock and roll, set off by legendary live performances, The Who has left an indelible mark on the world of music and continues to stay relevant.
The kids are alright.